magic of turning a solid ball of clay into a perfect symmetrical pot in a matter of seconds draws most people to the wheel. This magic material is one of the world's most versatile substances. Clay and glaze fired to temperatures high enough can create almost any shape, texture, color or pattern imaginable.
There is a Zen philosophy which says that the pot maketh itself. So you really have not much to do with it. But I think that comes from years and years of practice where it's all very unconscious. And if one is a true purist, then when you are throwing a pot and it's not what you want it to be, one should actually start again.
Pottery is an art form which is as old as civilization itself. The pots of ancient times fulfilled a practical function, being used to carry and store foodstuff. But they were also expressions of the potter's artistry, with their shape and decorations remaining an inspiration to us even today.
Potters are probably doing what they were doing hundreds of years ago. They haven't changed. And one very peculiar thing about Indian traditional pottery is that we don't have a tradition of glazing. Like China, they started glazing sometime in 1st century BC, but we've never had an indigenous system of glazing. We, according to the orthodox Hindu practice, a clay pot can be used for eating only once. Now that could be the reason why we didn't need to glaze, or this practice was there because we didn't glaze and it's not hygienic to eat from an unglazed pot. I mean eat, like food. So that's why our pots were only used for storage of water, grain, various things. Even for cooking, a traditional potter is absolutely, totally capable of making a mug, but if it doesn't glaze it, it can't be used like a mug. That is why they keep on doing what they were doing. I mean, like matkas and things. And unfortunately, these things are getting more and more out of use. How many people have matkas in their homes? Which is very sad, but and because our potters have immense skill at what they are doing. I mean, none of us could, in this lifetime, hope to get anywhere near even a very ordinary potter as far as their kind of skills are concerned.
Clay, a magic material, abundant and cheap, is enjoying an extraordinary renaissance as a creative medium. It has responded in the hands of modern artists to soaring flights of imagination in the work of a number of studio potters for whom pottery is central to their lives.
The traditional potters normally continued to do whatever they were doing, over the years, like the fathers and grandfather, whatever they did, they continue to do the same thing. But with studio potters, there is a scope for doing a lot of new things. And the basic idea of really livelihood is not there. With the commercial potters or the traditional potters, it was their livelihood. So what they had to do was to sell whatever they were making. But with studio potters, you like to create new forms, new ideas, you're more innovative.
Making pots may be one of the most elementary human activities, but it reflects the ideas and experiences of its makers. The process is simple but unpredictable. Most potters, however, begin with an idea of what they want, a specific form in mind.
I have something in mind that I'm making a mug, or I'm making a mug which is going to look like this. Then you take the amount of clay that you need for it, and only when you are absolute beginner, you let the pot dictate to you. After that, at least I think that you should know what you are doing. I mean, I think in terms of the entire pot. I mean, I don't think in terms of just throwing a pot, then making a biscuit, and then now what am I going to do with it. No, I more or less plan the whole pot right from the beginning. But I don't say that's the only way to work.
Clay is the lifeblood of the potter's craft, the single most important material in the art of pottery making, and the first thing to be considered in the creation of the pot.
Initially, we have to prepare the clay, which means that we use feldspar and quartz and ball clay and china clay. Some people use some Jamna sand and bentonite, and these are all mixed together, and they are first they're allowed to soak with water so that they get homogenized, and then they are sieved to remove any stones and other foreign objects from your clay, and then it has to dry. So once we have prepared the clay, then you throw on the wheel, and then you have to let it dry. It has to be completely dry. If there's any moisture in the pot, again it can crack in the firing, and then you whisk it to a temperature of about 1,000 degrees, and then after you've whisked the ware, then it's possible to glaze it.
For the potter, the study and use of glazes is infinitely more complex than that of clay and the formulation of clay bodies. A greater number of chemicals and materials are involved, and more variations must be taken into account.
Glazing, as the word suggests, is coating with glass, as in glazed veranda. So, glazing a pot is sort of putting a layer of glass over it. And hundreds and thousands of recipes of glazes can be made with different effects, different colors, different temperatures.
So once you have glazed your pot, again they have to dry completely before you can load your kiln, and then you have to hope that the kiln gods are smiling for you. So when you open your pots, it can be a happy experience and nothing too unexpected.
The student beginning to decorate pots cannot have the fluency that only time can bring, and he must be prepared to work on a lot of pots, learning from failure and concentrating on the development of a style.
I feel that all potters should have an art background. I mean, you just can't become a potter. I mean, in the sense it involves painting. After all, it's something that involves form, texture, line, everything that, any visual art involves. And, well, I think people should be trained. I mean, I was trained to be a painter, so it's different with me. But I find a lot of young people don't have any background, and it becomes a disadvantage if they don't themselves make it up at some point during their initial grind.
Pottery is an uncertain art. The final outcome depends on many variables and is not known even to its creator. In spite of the care and planning, what finally emerges may be completely different from what you expect.
It's like life, and that's what I think pottery teaches us, is to take things in your stride, because there's nothing certain in what we do. So as in life, you can plan something and then life happens to you, and so you don't know what's going to be, but yet you carry on. There's a thrill in it. Sometimes there used to be a saying that they say that how one artist's defects is another artist's effects. So similarly, you can make something, it can look beautiful, but not what you expected it to be, or it can be a complete disaster.
Pottery in all its variety has an unfamiliar and compelling aesthetics. Becoming a potter does not happen easily or quickly. It takes years of practice to master the art of making pots. Ideas come from work more often than work comes from ideas. But the process of making pots is denied to no one.
It's work like any other work. All this sort of, airy-fairy ideas are, every discipline, however creative you want to be, it's nothing airy-fairy about it. It means hard work, it means regular work. You produce inspired work once in a while, but all the time you produce some work of regular, some kind of quality. That is all that you aim for, like this, as you say, inspiration. Some work, that comes very occasionally with everyone, with painters, sculptors, potters. Really something becomes inspired. I mean, so everything comes out right. But otherwise, you just keep on working to your best.